What's going on, guys? If you clicked on this video, you want to know how I paid off 15K in debt. All right, and we're going to get straight into it, no frills. First things first, I just want to give a warning, man. I don't do a lot of edits, so if you could just hold with me for the next 10 to 12 minutes, I think I'll give you the things that you need to help you be successful. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I've been paying off debt now, for a while, but I'm going to focus specifically on the past year or so. So we're going to start in January 2025. I'm going to list, the debt that I've had, how much I paid, how I've done it, and, hopefully these things can help you do it as well. Okay? So, like I said, let's get straight to it. My name is Amar. I am a candle maker, content creator, all of that. As you can see, been making candles now about 5 years. This video is a little different than what I usually do, but it goes hand in hand because I feel like when you're paying off debt that has to deal with finances, which has to deal with side hustles and businesses. And I'm going to tell you how my candle making has played a part into it. Okay? So last year I had 10K credit card debt that I had to pay off, right? That was one of the things that I had to pay off. You got car notes, student loans, and different things like that. We're going to talk about specifically how I paid some of these things off, how I've gotten 15K debt down, and the ways that I kind of went about it. The first thing I did was I had a credit card, $10,000 credit card. And for some reason, I just could not pay that credit card down, man. You pay it down and it go up, you pay it down and it go up. And we were going back and forth. So beginning of January last year, I went to the bank. And the lady was like, hey, Mr. Smith, we've served your family here for a long time. You should have this turned into a personal loan. I was like, you know what? I was thinking about something like that, but I don't really know how that process works. She's like, it's okay. I can show you. So literally, she converted my debt to a personal loan. So my credit card specifically to a personal loan. And the way they do that is all they do is it's like they loan you the money, they pay it off, and then you're paying them back. And so the first thing that I would recommend doing is that if you have a large amount of debt, try to convert it to a personal loan, right? Now, the only thing with personal loans, it depends on what your debt is. So for me, like car notes and student loans, my percentage on those are so low that having a personal loan would not be beneficial because the interest rate would be higher. But because I had a credit card, the interest rate on the credit card is a lot higher than what the interest rate on the personal loan would be. So for example, my interest rate on my credit card could have been maybe 16%. The interest rate on the personal loan could have been 10%. So you see that I'm paying less money over time. And, I don't have to worry about it going up and down because I'm paying on it and then I'm using it and I'm paying on it and I'm using it. So that's the first thing. Convert it to a personal loan, right? And so she converted that. I think it was like $9,500 to a personal loan. I had a 10K max out. I paid the other $500 in cash or, paid that off, right? Then I lowered my limit down to 2K. So the reason why I did this was because if I already went to 10K, I don't want to use that card again, so I lowered that card down to 2K, which I did wind up maxing out the other 2K. So now we're at 12K, right? So how did I pay this off? So the first thing was you get 3 months, maybe about 90 days or so to pay off said debt. So, not pay off said debt, but to start payments on said debt. So what I would do was I would, as soon as they gave me the loan, as soon as I got paid, I started making, payments. Mind you, I don't make a lot of money. I might have been making like $20 an hour, 20-something dollars an hour around this time. And, I looked at my my check stub. I might have made 20-something grand last year. I was also unemployed for 6 months of last year. So, paying debt and then not having money and all these things. But here's some other ways that I've done that, and we'll talk about it as well. So back to the credit card. So what I would do is I get a jump start immediately on the debt, man. I didn't wait the 3 months to start paying it off. I paid it off immediately. I knew what my payments would be, and I started paying a little more on that. So that's the first thing I did. So my payments was like $225 a month. I didn't wait 90 days to start paying $225. I started paying the $225 right now. Immediately I started paying the $225 as soon as I got paid. Another thing that I did was as soon as the year came in, file tax returns. So, sometimes we'll get money back from the tax returns and things like that. So what I would do is instead of buying something nice, I use that money on my tax return. So I think I might have maybe about $2 grand, $3 grand. It wasn't a lot. And I immediately was like, okay, I'm going to take that $3 grand. I'm going to put that down. So now we're down from 10 or 12 to, we'll say 10 to 7. So we'll keep it from small numbers to 7. So now we're down to 7. So what I would do is I still make my $225 a month, maybe about I would try to pay more than whatever the $225 was. So if I could do $250, $275, $300, I would do that. And the way that I would kind of do that is you don't have to pay it all at once. You can split it up into 2 payments. So if I got $225 or $300, $150 one paycheck, $150 another paycheck. But at the time, I got paid every week. So it's really just like, okay, what would that be? 50, 50, or 75, 75, 75, 75. So $75 a week. That is something that I would do. If you're a person who doesn't make a lot of money, it just really is about kind of balancing the things out. And then another thing that I would say is find ways to make more money. So one thing that I did is I made candles. So last year I didn't bring in a lot of money in candles. I might have brought in maybe about $5,000 that I brought in. So obviously I couldn't put the whole $5,000 on there because of the fact that I still had to, buy supplies, buy scents, wigs, and I had to pay for my site monthly and then buy vessels and different things like that. But out of that $5,000 that I made, I probably put like 2 or 3 on there. So I would say now that 7 is bumped down to, I say 5 or 6. So now, no, not 5 or 6. Now that 7 is bumped down to probably like 4 or 5 because you're talking about $2,000, $2,000, $3,000. So 4 or 5. And then the rest of it, man, is just knocking it down payments by payments. Another thing that I did was I also, I gambled. I'm not going to lie to you. Hard Rock bet, man. I hit for like a grand or something like that. Once I hit that, boom. I didn't try to go too crazy on it, man. And I'm not recommending you do this, but you do have to find like unique ways to kind of like, make the money, man. You have to find unique ways and creative ways to make the money. Like I said, I do candles. So I would do that on part-time. I would do like, pop-ups here and there. And, every weekend, every other weekend, various weekends, I would just do pop-ups. And if you want to know how that works, I made other videos about that. So now you're talking about four grand or whatever on the card. Hard Rock bet hit for $1,000. That's $3,000, right? Now with I didn't do student loans. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't make not one payment on student loans last year. I have a total of, I made payments before, but now I have a total of $20,000 left on student loans, which we're working on that too. But I'm gonna give you the total of how much I had before and how much I had now with the $15K paid down. Okay. So the next thing, like I said, I'm making the payments. I did the Hard Rock bet. I'm doing the candles. Sometimes you got to pick up extra shifts. That's one thing that I might have did is I pick up extra shifts. It's just finding different ways to make the money kind of come in. But the good thing about a personal loan is I'm literally just making payments. You know what I'm saying? You cut the payment threshold down or cut the max down on your card. So that way you can't never run up that amount again. And so now I'm down from 10K to 2K, right? On that credit card. One thing I did with that is I turned that 2K back into a personal loan. You have to do it every year. So I waited a year. I did that 2K. Now that's a personal loan that I could pay off as well. So this is how I got down from the 10K, the 12K down. Also, like I said, with my car note. My car note last year was $12,794. I paid $5,400 on that as well. So now we got about $7,000, $7,300 left on my car note as well. And so like I said, I'm not debt free, but these are things that I have done to get debt free or get more out of debt. So let's say last year, I think I've started, my debt was 20, 32, 40, 44. So starting out the year, my debt was at 20, 32. That's 34. So about 44 grand. Now I'm at about 29,000 left. So you talking about my math was right. I paid about $17,436 off in debt. Now I'm not super duper. I'm excited about that number, but I felt like I could have did 20 if I just tighten it up. But like I said, also I didn't work half of the year. So how did I pay off the other half of the year? Like I said, candles. So and this is important to have a side hustle or a business or something that you do because that helps you kind of when things get low. So I had a side hustle, in candles, but I also was doing, the crypto and the stocks. So I had probably about 5 or 7 grand that I took out of that. And that's another thing that you could do. You know what I'm saying? Invest in different things. Part of it I also did was I worked in education for a little while. And because I'm not, I don't plan on going back to education, I cashed out with little money I had in my education. That's another 3 or 4 grand that I took from there as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can you just have to kind of get creative. Sell some stuff if you have to sell some stuff. You either got 2 options. Really, you either going to spend less money or you're going to make more money. And I chose to kind of make more money. And so these are some of the things that I did to pay down 15K debt, man. Like I said, now it's 17. We paid down $17,436. We do have $29,000 left, but if I paid off 17, 18 in a year, I could probably do the last 29, 28 in probably a year and some change. Probably more than that if I be aggressive. And since I'll be working a full year, you know what I'm saying, I could do that too. So these are some ways that I paid down $15,000, now $17,000 in debt. I hope this helped you. If you want, I had an original video that I did. It is vertical. It's a TikTok that I showed you how more in depth a little bit about how I paid off the 10K. Like I said, I don't necessarily recommend you try to go hit on Hard Rock Bet. But if you're doing, you know what you're doing, man. I was on Lucky Street. You got to do what you got to do. Pick up a side hustle. Pick up a part-time job, man. I'm not beyond, you know, I work a 9 to 5. You know, a lot of us work 9 to 5s. And I do the candles and stuff on the side, amongst other things. You kind of have to get creative. One thing that I've kind of noticed is that, you know, even with investing, what I would say is try to pay your debt off first, because unless what you're making in investments is higher than whatever your debt is, you're going to lose. You know what I mean? So it's like, unless you're making 30% on your investment, you know, stocks and stuff like that. And this is not no hypothetical. Like, well, if you know, if I flip this into, no, unless you know that this brings me 30% and I can take this and I can put it on that, pay off your debts first, man, because especially credit card debts. I try to start with the higher debt first, and then I work to the lower debts. So now I got my car note, $7 grand left on that, and then student loans, 20-something grand left on that. Once I pay those out, I'll be debt free. So we'll try to make another video probably in like a year or so and see where I'm at. But I hope this video helps. This is how I paid off 15K debt in a year with the low income. If you're still here, like, comment, subscribe, you know, or a thumbs up. I appreciate you. If there's anything else you would add to this video or take away, drop your experience in the comment, man. What is your experience paying debt off? Drop it in the comments. Till next time, peace.